Hey, who'd you talk to? What's going on? It's me, it's the KINGMIKE, the L. Well, this is Legit Paranormal, brought to you by Legit Fantasy Sports. I love it when it's legit paranormal. We go from talking nonstop draft and stuff like that, and NBA players resting too much, to the paranormal. So joining me always, the genius Kev. Kev, how are we tonight?
Doing great, King. Like you said, my favorite night of the week. It's my favorite show of the week. Love it. It's like a master class in all things paranormal. So I'm very excited for tonight.
Yeah, it's like getting a free education, isn't it? It's like
Exactly.
the community college of paranormal. It's just like, it's not like they're really telling us stuff. We're getting just enough to be the community college of paranormal.
Yeah, it's like they're trying to get us.
What?
Trying to get us to sign up for like the 200 level courses.
That's my point. Yeah, that's my point. They try to sell you the pamphlets. So joining us, and he looks like he's already had a couple of these. Buddy's there with his beer of the week. How is it going, buddy?
Professor Thayer here. I'm drinking a oh Christ, is it going to come in? Is it too bright? Mass Ave, it's called. Can you see it?
It's the
Yes,
same.
Mass Ave. Anyway, by Trillium. I bought it especially because it's made in Massachusetts, where our guest this evening was made by a mother that I assume is from Massachusetts. Happy Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to my mother who birthed me after 32 hours of labor. They pulled me out of her stomach. God rest, thank you, Mom, for being a mom and all that good shit. But anyway, happy Mother's Day from Mass Ave, from our guest of the week from the Massachusetts Ghost Hunters Paranormal Society, Marc Arvilla.
Before I bring up Mark, buddy, to bring back the 80s for a second, the fact that you're trying to tell me that's a different beer.
It's a totally beer.
You just keep slapping labels on the same can, dude. Kev, that's the same great thing.
Well,
Mass Ave. That's in Mass Ave. It's
you believe it? I don't know if I believe it now. See?
It's an 8.2. It's made with Citra hops. It's absolutely beautiful. I have a glass I will pour it into.
You don't have to. I want to bring on, though, Mark. He's been sitting in agony long enough. Mark, how are
Mark
you?
I've been looking at my Mass Ave beer. Probably thirsty as fuck. Thank you, Mark, for welcome, Mark, paranormal investigator and
listen. I'm never.
Zaphis.
Go ahead, Mark.
What do you got there, Mark?
Yes, no, I was gonna say. So that's quite all right. Well, this is just Starbucks. I mean, there's clearly just coffee inside, so
Yeah.
Coffee is good. I like Starbucks too. I'm a big fan of Starbucks in the morning, but in the evening hours, I like the higher label stuff.
Yes. All right.
Yeah, this one tastes like rum, but
rum coffee. I like that. It's my favorite flavor of coffee, by the way, is rum.
Yeah.
Mark, demonologist, right? So when people hear that, they think the most ridiculous things, I would guess, because that's how it seems to be with the people we've talked to. Like when you're a demonologist, people immediately think like the really worst, and they act weird when they first hear it.
well, yeah. Well, the first thing people do is they kind of look at you like, wait, you're a demon, and then you're like, oh wait, there's an ologist on there. Okay, so you're not. So, but you do get this, and a lot of people are like, what the hell is that? So when you start talking about demonology, of course, everybody jumps to the worst case scenarios, and you must see the worst stuff. As we know, if you're a paranormal investigator, like less than 1% of any case you'll ever run into could possibly be a demonic haunting. So most of my dark stuff is pretty boring because, we all have, again, a paranormal investigator. If you get the phone call, somebody thinks there's a demon in their house, and, it's legit like nothing. It's a garbage disposal that has some bad fruit in it that's rotting or something like that. And, it's just one of those things that most of what I do is just that everybody else does. Is go a bunch of stuff and the real reasons why this stuff is happening. But there are other cases. So.
All right. So, okay. So there's very minimal cases that end up being real big deals. But then there's like a bunch of you must get a lot of wacky people coming up to you and saying that something's got a demon in it, right? You must get some really quality. Like if you had it to make like a hit list where you put it on YouTube of like all the really bad ones, you must have a really good tape saved up in your head. Do you get a lot of them that are just cuckoo?
Oh yeah. Oh God, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The majority, and listen, I'm not trying to take, if anybody's watching and they think they've got something going on, please, by no means do you sit back and go, wow, I don't want to reach out to these guys. They're a bunch of jerks. But the fact of the matter is that most of the stuff that we, most of the stuff that we deal with, a lot of people who just are looking for attention, or they want a TV show to come out to their house or something like that. And, you know, it's really difficult. To me, it makes it difficult because we waste a lot of time contacting people and then hearing stories and starting to go, oh my God, here we go. This was not what I wanted to do today. And I quite honestly, and it goes hand in hand sometimes, like there's a lot of houses you'll enter and you're like, oh my God, this should be on Hoarders, not on a paranormal show. You know, it's usually people who their lives are chaotic anyway. There's a few of them. I've been in a few of them that it's like, no, I won't sit down. Here, have something to drink. No, it's okay. I brought some water with me. No, I'm not going to touch anything while I'm in here. You know, that happens a lot.
Get a tetanus shot on the way out. I'm good.
All right. So let me ask you a question, Mark. You get that, like, I get that a lot. Basically, you know, getting a crazy, wacky email from somebody who would say that possessed. All else, it'd be nothing. And you investigate and it's like nothing. Or you actually take it and it's nothing. Chance you take a case, you have a case, so you take a case that's possibly there's somebody saying maybe it's something's going on here, and it ends up being a demon or a demon. Have you had that experience? Have you had it like it presents as like a poltergeist, or it presents as like a ghost, and it ends up being like a demon?
Hey, before you answer that, Mark, before you answer that, buddy, let's have a rule where questions can only be less than 40 seconds. All right? Just so we can pick the tempo up a little bit.
I'm sorry.
That question right there, you asked it. All right, you already asked it. You asked it 3 times. Go ahead, Mark. Mark, you like to drive your car. Do you like to be in an automobile? Do you like to go out and put it, you know, get in the car, cruise? Mark, do you like to move around? You know what I mean? It's like, we know. Go ahead. I'm sorry. What did you even ask?
No, I like to go to the car.
I
want to check all the doors. I want to make sure my oil's okay. I want to.
No. The question was,
so buddy, basically.
Have you ever entered a case thinking it might be just a ghost and it ends up being a demon? Has it ever been like that?
So, I wouldn't say I've gone into a case where I thought it would be a ghost and it was going to be a demon as much as I would. It's definitely turned to a dark side or corner. Again, demonic, rare. Love being able to sit here and, you know, say like, oh, I've seen this, this, and this. I'm still, as far as like demonology goes, I'm still kind of new in the field for that. It's only been a few years. And, you know, knock on wood, I have not had my own major case that I've gone in on yet. But, I mean, that doesn't mean I haven't had some crazy crap that I've gone and seen. And so, you know, for example, there was definitely a case that I had where there was some interesting things happening, but my mindset going in was, okay, let's go in and see what's paranormal first and see if we can explain some of the calm these people down. And during the investigation, it started becoming very clear that there was definitely a negative entity. It was definitely something that these people were dealing with and presenting while we were there. One of the people got snatched while we were there, and it was in front of us. So it wasn't like they disappeared into another room and came out like, oh my arm, and they were welting up and the scratch was showing and presenting itself where we were there. I'm not the first person to run out and be like, oh, you're getting scratched. It's definitely dark. No, because sometimes if you picture somebody in a room like myself and I have headphones on and someone comes up behind me and I'm listening to music and they're trying to talk to me, I'm not going to hear them. So if I don't hear them and they finally touch me and I go, whoa, and I turn around, I've reacted to them. So occasionally, not occasionally, but most of the time, I believe if someone scratch or in, a tip is going to be because that's how a ghost can get your attention. That's how a spirit can communicate. You're not hearing them. They're trying to talk. You don't hear them with your own ears. They touch you. You go, whoa, look at my arm. It's red. Oh, my God. What are they going to do from now on when they want to try and communicate with someone? They're going to touch them, and their body's going to react that way. And so this particular case, started on that road. And again, my mind is like, well, this doesn't mean it's anything bad. But stuff did get pretty heavy as the night went on. I carry it in the room with me. It's in another room right now. But I carry a bag with me all the time. And in that bag, I've got a Bible, I've got holy water, I've got salt, I've got, blessed oils and blessed this. And like, I've got this like go bag of all the stuff I might need to like at least calm things down a little bit and help some people before, we've got to make other phone calls. So it's happened a few times where I've had to pull out some holy water or, in these particular, like, so we use some holy water.
What if you go into a home
in the house to try and help?
What if you go into a home and they're not Christian? What's your approach? What if they're like Buddhist? What if they're
because the best way to say that is, so we're saying that ghosts are religious. It's attached to religion.
No, it's attached to faith. So not just spirits. Let's not say spirits. Negative entities. That's why I call them. That's why I don't like using the demon word all the time. Because
we'll go with that.
We as I was brought up Roman Catholic. So we as Catholics know about God, Satan, demons, devils, things like that. Okay. So other religions have other things like jinn and elemental, all these different beliefs that they have for what you might encounter. So if you just because like the Jewish faith doesn't believe in demons, but they do occasionally have something in their family called a Dybbuk box, which they believe that there are negative entities, massive, that there are negative entities that need to be contained. So if you happen upon a Jewish faith, then, their faith is going to lie in, well, it's not a demon. It's got to just be this. So then you're going to apply that type of faith to it. If they're Buddhist, even though Buddhists are all about Zen in themselves, not necessarily a higher power or anything like that, or a higher, deity, they are going to have a little bit of a different faith and a different approach that you need to come into it with. Shamans come into play. There's all kinds of different things. So, Ed Warren once said it best that there are and he's not the only one to have said it, but there are, basically human and inhuman entities. And inhuman entities have never been in our form. They've never walked the earth. They were here long before we were. And as our faith comes around and, Catholic faith labels them a demon, another faith is going to label them a jinn. These are how they get their names. We named them. It's the same negative energy or same negative entity that's been around. It's just your faith deems it something different. Okay. Make sense?
Yes.
Yeah,
it did.
Definitely. Yeah, that's a very, very good way to put it. I hadn't heard it put that way before. That's a very it's good clarification.
So Kev, ask him about the bar.
So
Sorry, Kev.
Go ahead.
The bar.
No, go ahead.
Ask about the bar. Sorry, Mark. I know you're in the room with us, but I'm like talking to Kevin. Not. I'm like, you got to ask him about the bar because I was watching like. You seem to claim that bar is like off the hook, like it's like the party place to be if you want to go see paranormal stuff. Can you discuss?
Yeah, he's talking about the Irish Mist, the place in Troy that I've heard and I've read you heard you talk about it. I've read some of your comments on it, and I'd love to hear about that place. So I don't know if you want to just tell a couple stories or you want to give a little background, but it was kind of mind blowing for me.
It's awesome.
Yeah. So it's funny. So I'll give you it's an interesting story. So this is before I was even in demonology. I was just a paranormal investigator. I actually drove past that place today, and I almost stopped to take some pictures of it because I haven't stopped and been in the building for a while. It's changed. So just to give status on that building now, it's changed hands. Nobody can contact me. It's just in complete disrepair. It's going to be torn down. The building is just a disaster. The guy that used to own it now owns a bunch of restaurants here in the town that I live in New York. And, this is where he's set up shop out here. He doesn't even talk to the place anymore. So this place is in Troy, New York. It used to be called the Irish Mist. Before it was the Irish Mist, it was an old stove manufacturing company. So it goes back to turn of the 1900s.
Nice.
1800, and it's about 4 stories tall. And what ended up happening was the guys who bought it used the first floor as a bar, like a little restaurant area, mainly a bar, and then the back had a function area where he would do, receptions and weddings and stuff like that.
Yep.
The rest of it was abandoned. It was empty. It was just, 3 stories above him of warehouse space that was like, no, I'm afraid of heights. Get me up on the 3rd floor and I'm fine. The way that it is, though, is the building's like the old main part of the building is, brick and sturdy, but the warehouse portion off the back of it is like almost like in between floors. So when you walk out, you got to go down like 3 or 4 floors. So it's offset from the main building, sort of.
Weird.
Those were all like wooden plank, or maybe like 3 stick. And I'm looking at like holes, and I'm looking down like 3 stories, and I'm going, I don't like this. I hate heights, and I can see that this is just not a safe spot for me to be right now. Like there's soft and stuff like that. It's like everybody wants to be in those places. So we went into the investigation thinking that what we were going to have happen was on the 3 stories above us. That's where the main activity was. They didn't have a lot of stuff that they claimed in the bar itself. So we get there. It's daylight. We're taking some pictures. We're just jibber-jabbering amongst ourselves. And all of a sudden, I'm like, I don't fucking feel good. Excuse me. Can I swear? I just dropped it.
Yeah, no.
I don't think you did.
Was that
I think you're
okay?
fine.
Fuck it.
All right. Thanks, buddy.
Fine.
So I'm in the building, and I'm like, I don't feel all that great. I'm gonna go outside, and I just walked out, and outside now. This part of Troy, New York, is not the greatest area to be in. A lot of drug activity and stuff like that going on around everything. And I step out, and I literally am like on the front stoop, and all I could think to myself was, I need to pray. I just need to like pray right now. And I don't know why that came to my mind. I don't know why that's what I decided I had to do. But I started to pray. And I maybe like a minute, whatever. I collected myself, got some air. I went back inside, and like there's a big commotion going on inside. And I'm going, what's going on, guys? And all the women are like, oh my God. They all felt sick. They all felt nauseous. Like this, they're like, you went outside, and all of a sudden, like this breeze came through the room. And, this girl, MJ, that was from Canada, and there's some pictures, I think, on my Facebook page from Ask Ghost Hunters. She got scratched on her neck right here. And we were looking at that like her chest welted up, and she was scratched on her chest. And then this other woman got scratched. And then my team member, Mike, got scratched on his face. And we're like, what is going on? I'm like, I just went outside because I felt sick. I don't know what's happening. So everybody's like, we're chaos for a little while. Then I'm like, guys, let's calm down. Everybody refocus ourselves. Let's get going. Let's start investigating. This is going to be a crazy night.
Mark, was the gas leak sick, or was it a different type of sick? You know what I'm trying to say? Was it a gas leak? That could have made everybody in the room sick.
So, thinking first that it's possible that it could have been a gas leak, though, for the amount of time we were in there, we weren't exposed to it for very long. It went away. We all felt better afterwards. And so, I mean, if it had lingered then I'd be thinking like gas leak, something else is going on with this building, mold or something like that. It went away, and it was not anything that ever came back as far as the nausea goes. But to see everybody suddenly getting scratched, this compounds to me and starts backing up to me that, holy crap, this is a little bit more like a paranormal phenomenon. So we go exploring. We go up through the building. We now, we did a little bit there. Nothing else happened. We went upstairs. We did our thing upstairs. Some photos from that night have came back, and there's my team member Mike was taking some photos, and there's a ghost arm that appears in one of the photos that is basically forearm up and nothing else. There's like a foggy mist in some of his photos. None of us smoke. It was the summer, so it wasn't cold out. And there was no explanation for the mist that was appearing. There was there were some other things, noises, things like that were chasing all night. For me, the most profound thing that happened in that building happened on the second floor. And I had my medium with us, who has since passed away. Her name was Mary Lou. And she was like a trance medium. So she was real old school. She knew a lot more about that side of everything and witchcraft and stuff than I did at the time. And she was comfortable enough to sort of give herself up a little bit to bring in a spirit that she could talk through what was happening. And we were on the second floor using an SP7 spirit box, which is the little broken radio that makes a bunch of noise. Yeah. And this little child's voice came through. And I'm like, that shouldn't be on the radio. So that's on a radio station. So we started communicating with this child, and this child's voice kept coming through. And we discerned that his name was Charlie. I got that from Mary Lou. And I'm very skeptical with psychics. So I'm not like everybody that's a psychic. And I'm like, yeah, I'm very skeptical. Mary Lou won me over very quickly. So she's talking. She gives me the name Charlie. So we start using the name Charlie, communicating what we believe is a child. Beliefs that there was child labor in this building. There was a fire at one time. Or death. There's belief there could have been child deaths that were never documented because it's labor. You're not going to document your children working there. So we're communicating with this kid, Charlie, we believe. For transmission, she feels like she's on. So here I am, and I'm like telling this little kid, it's okay. Help is coming, and there was pain in the child's voice, and help is coming. It's okay. And I keep saying this, and then all of a sudden, I had this realization that he died, and I'm sitting here and I'm telling him it's okay. Help is coming, but so I paused and I said, Charlie, it's okay. It's okay. You're not going to make it. Help is not going to come. You're going to die. But when you accept this, it's going to be over. You won't have to keep reliving this over and over and over again. And I swear to you, it was like everything stopped on the radio. Mary Lou said that she started feeling, like things were disappearing. Like, I don't feel the fire anymore. I don't feel this. And she goes, he's gone. His spirit's gone. And I bawled like a freaking baby. I was like, just thinking, I have children of my own. And I'm just like, over time, this poor spirit has just relived this death over and over again. And if anybody's communicated, then they're probably saying the same thing I did. Help's coming. But it never did for him. Yeah. So it was the craziest thing for me. I actually participated in giving a spirit peace, because I don't know if that's our job or not, but I did it. It just was one of those moments that I cried about it. I'm like, what is going on? This is crazy. I never expected this here. We went downstairs to collect ourselves, and all hell broke loose when we got downstairs. It was just like before. No figures moving about the room. I got scratched on my forearm in the shape of a cross. There was another investigator got scratched on her neck, and there was no air going on. As I checked all these things, there was no AC or anything like that, and there was this one balloon that just kept moving, and then it would stop, and then it would just deliberately move again. And so I went up and I just popped the balloon. I'm like, good, now you got to talk to us a different way. And I was starting to get aggressive and which isn't me normally on an investigation. And it got very tense. And I was sitting at the bar and I'm listening to the that's going on. And I started to feel like somebody running their finger up and down my neck. Like if you can picture the barfly, the woman at the bar trying to hit on a guy, and she's running her hand along his ear and stuff like that. That's what I felt on my neck. And so we start, asking all these questions, and we put this story together of because this negative entity is standing, we all saw this shadow figure in a doorway, and we're like, is this his girl? and is this she does his is he mad right now, and this is why we're getting so much energy going on, and it was wild. This we never answers. Eventually, just went flat and stopped. But for a place that I thought I was just going to go into and have a routine investigation and have a little fun in a pretty much abandoned building, it was the wildest night of investigating I had at that point. And it's definitely in my top 5. It's definitely a top 5 investigation for me.
So
it was crazy. It was absolutely crazy.
Let me ask this then. Do you think that they were mad that you saved the kid and you can't save them? Because you save the kid moves on, which was a great thing, because we've actually heard of people that go to, like, where's the place, Kev? They keep saying that he went to it.
Penhurst.
Yeah. But down below it's called Candyland or whatever it's called, where the kids are supposed to be, and they keep hearing kids' voices, and it's like, yeah, there it is.
Right there.
It's like,
you guys been there.
Why won't they let the kids free?
One of them.
Why can't they set the kids free? And you set the kid free.
So,
that's fantastic. Because that's what I had a problem with last time we talked about this. But I'm glad you did that.
Yeah. And it was, here's the thing, right? You go into a place like Penhurst, and I'm not knocking them. They have what they're doing. But this is what's become of the paranormal. You have a haunted location with spirits. You don't want anybody to come cleanse the place because they're going to get rid of your moneymaker.
Right.
You're making money off of the fact that your place is haunted. Somebody, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I know.
I just
Dude, I agree.
We have a location that we utilize. It's the old Kent County Jail in East Greenwich, and it's allegedly thousands of spirits go through there. People have all sorts of experiences in there. But if we ever cleanse these spirits, I've never been offered to cleanse these spirits. I don't know that the East Greenwich Paranormal Society has been offered to cleanse these spirits, but if they were, they goes like $150, like every Saturday night type thing. I guess I don't know. That's
definitely a dilemma, by the way,
Historical Society,
buddy, that's a dilemma in your field right now, in my opinion. From an outside looking in, is getting these spirits to move on versus making money, because of the fact that you can still speak with them. Because I don't think anyone's still here because they want to be. I might be wrong, but it always sounds like they all would rather go someplace else.
Well,
Marc, what do you think about it?
My kids are in jail, so they're in prison for eternity in hell.
All right.
So
you just said so they're trapped in some sort of hell for eternity. So now we're asking if we should set them free. That it doesn't make sense. That's a gimme. Of course we should. If they're trapped in eternity of nothingness. Marc?
Them being there kind of like prophets, the people that are trying to preserve the land that they're on. I don't know. What do you think, Marc?
Well, so here's a dilemma, right? So we're talking about a couple of different things here. So one of them is that, you happen upon a jail that has thousands of spirits, and now they're making money off it, doing investigations. And what do we care? There are bad people when they're alive, so there are bad people when they're dead. Who gives a crap about them? Right. But at the end of the day, it is still an opportunity, right? It's an opportunity that spirit's never going to get to repent because they've been put in a bad situation, and they're going to maintain the bad situation. So, again, I don't know if it's our job to move these spirits along. I do know that it's not our job to keep them here. Like, that's one thing, is that if they want to go, they can go. It's not our job to trap them into this cycle that we have going on. But, are we to interfere with what's going on and the fact that they are here and they are communicating? This scenario, in scenarios like it, I think that if you have an opportunity and the spirit decides I'm released, I'm free, and they go, that's them. I didn't make them go anywhere. I just, that moment, it would just felt right to do what I was doing. Going to Penhurst and dealing with what's going on at Penhurst. I've been there a few times. I've never tried to move a spirit along, but I've tried to sympathize with the spirits that are there. I think it's a very misunderstood place. A lot of people go in and talk about, it's dark, it's negative, it's this. It's just energized. There's so much energy in that place that I think a lot of it gets mistaken for negativity, when in fact, those children weren't in the best conditions. They were sick. They were confused. they're mentally challenged, they're not going to communicate with you the same way somebody who was not is going to communicate.
Right.
So there's a lot of confusion in there. There's a lot of touching that happens at Penhurst. A lot of these children were non-vocal. So maybe this is why there's a lot of touching that happens there. I had an experience at Penhurst where I went down a hallway. We were doing an event. I went down a hallway and I went to walk in a door and I stepped on a Matchbox car in the doorway. And I stopped and I'm like, who put this here? You know, and everybody's like, nobody fessed up to it. And I asked everyone, I go, nobody's in trouble. It's just we've all been here all night long. And I know we've come in and out of this room. There's no way this car has been sitting here this whole time. Somebody would have kicked it. And I'm like, so now I'm questioning, like, did a spirit place this car in this doorway? So I go into the room by myself. I stand at the back of the room. And it's, if you've ever been in a building like this, it's, if you've had this type of experience, it'll make sense. If you haven't, it's going to be hard to understand. But I'm looking across at the wall across from me, which is probably about 14 or 15 feet away. And I felt like I had to do this and lean side to side to actually see that wall, that my line of vision was obscured by something.
Awesome.
And then I felt like, yeah, and then I felt this, like, that sixth sense that somebody's in my space, and I kind of stood back because I felt like I was going to get bopped in the nose. So I kind of, you know, stood myself up. And then I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, this was the children's ward. So this is most likely a child. So I crouched down and I brought myself down to their level and I started talking about my daughter. And I'm like, I'm a father. I've got 3 children. My youngest, blah, blah, blah. And I started talking. And I swear to God, my heart started like beating faster and racing. And okay, if I feel, and I felt as if like my space was being engulfed a little bit, almost like the child was like leaning up against me, listening, or even hugging me. And I'm like, you need to please back away. You know, my body is doing this, and this is how I'm reacting to you and your energy. And I just need you to move out of my space now. And it didn't. And my heart kept like racing. And I'm like, I got to get out of here. I can't stay in this room any longer. I'm sorry. And I got up and I left the room. I thought I was going to pass out. I was fearing that like I was about to have some sort of a heart attack thing. And I went down the stairs. I went outside, and it took me maybe like 5 or 10 minutes, drank some water, and I felt great again. And I was fine. And I went back up to that room, and that room felt completely different. It was like I could see in there again. I could see the wall, and that whatever was there was moved on to somewhere else in the building. I didn't like move them along, but they were just, their energy just wasn't there anymore. And, you know, these are the things that I think that we need to do more when we're investigating places like that, and not go in and ask for the big bad guy and try and get scratched or whatever. There are spirits there that need that touch, though, that little bit of humanness again that they haven't gotten in forever. So, you know, I agree with you on that. I agree that it kind of sucks that we're going into these places where there are kids and we're not moving the kids along or releasing them. But if we can have these experiences and maybe make it a little bit more enjoyable for them, you know, or give them a little bit of comfort that they didn't get, that might be a way to go with this.
It's kind of like unbelievable for us. It's almost confirmation. It's absolutely tremendous. I've had people see shadow figures like poke their head out of this like solitary confinement in the basement, and it's like absolutely mind blowing to like just hear their experience. Just and from a paranormal investigator's point of view, just to be able to that collaboration, it's absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, I apologize. The ice cream man's going by right now, so you can probably hear it in the background.
Yeah.
Mr. Dingling.
Yell, wait, time out, Mark. When you were a kid, did you used to yell "stop" for the ice cream man? Did you?
You know, I think I did.
Yeah, that's what you used to do. Is you yell "stop" at the top of your lungs. Stop, and you would stop.
Yep.
And you run over with your dollar bills. That was the best. Sorry.
Yep. Heck yeah.
Kev?
So Mark, I want to ask a kind of slightly different question, because when you talked about the Irish Mist, when you talked about Penhurst, you both times you said you kind of almost had like a physical sickness or like a lot of physical sensation. So it sounds like to me that for whatever reason you're kind of wide open to this stuff. and you're probably more sensitive than maybe Mike is or I am. And I'm just kind of curious, do you think most people could develop that sort of openness? And did you do anything to actively develop it, or was it just a gift that you were born with?
So I think it's a little bit of both. I think I was born with it, but I never embraced it until I got into the paranormal. So I had experiences as a kid, but nothing that, everything your parents always tell you, oh, it's just the house settling. Oh, it's just the wind, normal noises, blah, blah, blah. But as you get older and you start to remember back, like I was talking to John Zaffis one time about, stuff. He's a much deeper person than he lets on for a lot of people. And doing something like, and John was talking, and he was doing a little bit of a reading. We'll just leave it at that. And I said, yeah. I said, well, what about me? He goes, what do you mean, what about you? He goes, why did you used to pull the blanket over your head when you were a kid with the dark figure would stand over you? And my jaw like dropped open because it was like a suppressed memory that I had. And I went, oh my God, yeah, I did do that. And he's like, yeah, I know. And I'm like, well, how could you? Because I completely had suppressed that in my mind. Didn't think, I knew the other stuff that had happened. Forgot all about that. And as soon as he said that, I was in my bed as a kid, looking up, pulling my blanket over my head because there was something standing there. I'm like, I hate you. What are you doing to me? So, yeah.
Marc,
so for me,
Marc, I got a really odd comparison. Last night, I was talking about like the 90s, or like it was like the early 2000s. That's like a long time ago. And I'm discussing this one girl, and I'm like, I was talking to my wife, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know if I dated her. Then I realized that I took her here. I took her here. We played tennis. We did this. I'm like, I went out on dates with this girl. I'm like, I dated this girl. Like I completely forgot that I dated this girl. Like it's been so long that I didn't even know I dated her. But then I started to go, wait a minute. If you go 4 places, you're dating. If you're seeing this one girl for only 2 weeks,
sure,
you're dating. I'm like, how did that happen? So I'm sorry, but yeah. Suppressed memories are horrible because it's like, how did I even forget that? Were you mad at yourself for forgetting it? It's like, how do you forget something like a dark figure over your bed? Like that's something I think I would remember forever. So I'm afraid of that.
Yeah.
So here's another thing.
And that's the same thing. So for me, especially being a paranormal investigator, right?
Yep.
Yeah, go ahead.
No. All right. I just lost the cap. Genius cap.
Oh,
all right. So, how much of your personal life gets thrown in the like is that you're giving up kind of for what you do? Like it's bleeding into it. I would imagine it's something that like what you do, unfortunately, it probably bleeds more than you would want it to into personal life. Is that fair assessment?
Gotcha. So, stepping into paranormal investigating, first off, I'll take it at that tier. If you're not careful, then yeah, you're going to involve your personal life and you'll have moments. I did as an investigator, shame on me. There were some places I didn't close out or I let my guard down too much. And, I did have a couple experiences happen afterwards where, there was one night I know a lot of people call it sleep paralysis, but I know what I experienced, and it was not sleep paralysis. And I woke up to feeling something in the room, not seeing anything, but I couldn't move, and I was wide awake. And I tried to move my arms. My arms were above my head, and I couldn't bring my arms down. And then I tried to say my girlfriend's name, who was next to me, and I couldn't take the breath to even say her name. I was like, so I can't say anything. I can't move. Finally, somehow, I was able to move my right leg and kick her, which jolted her awake, and I was released. And all of a sudden, I was like, I just said her name out loud, and then I could move again. And, she was like, what? And I looked at her. I didn't want to alarm her, so I was like, nothing, sorry, I just had a bad dream. But I didn't. I knew what had happened, and, I immediately the next day, I did some things to cleanse myself and to cleanse my area and things like that.
You brought it home.
This was just as an investigator before I did. I brought it home. Number one rule, don't bring it home, and I brought it home. Right. And so, as a demonologist, I can say one of the first things that John ever said to me before I even stepped into into it was, it's a very lonely place. There are things you can't discuss. There are things that you can't discuss because you shouldn't, but because you will bring people into arena that don't need to be there, and you will bring harm to them. So, I think now as a demonologist, I have really made sure that my walls are very secure and that I'm protected all the time and the people around me are protected all the time. I don't talk to my girlfriend about certain things because she doesn't need to be put in danger. It's almost like if you're in the darkness and you become a demonologist, it's like a light goes and just turns on above your head. You are known and you are always on the radar. There's no hiding. So it does bring a lot of your personal life into it.
So once you get in
just
there,
to jump back,
them.
Right. I got a question for you, Mark.
Once they get in there, once you get in there, they know you, like you know them. In other words, they know Mark. Like you made yourself available to them. Is what you did.
Right.
You put yourself out.
Yep. Absolutely.
All
absolutely.
Right, buddy.
Mark, I get a question for you. Being an investigator, you go into any experience, be it residential, be it a business, be it anywhere, and you get scratched, you get tormented, you get attacked by a spirit. How do you know it's not? How do you know the difference between like what I define as like say an asshole spirit, like just an asshole, a guy who was an asshole in life and then he died, and he's an asshole in death? How do you determine between that and like a demon?
And can you claim unemployment?
Yeah, and can you claim that shit? Go on.
Well, so
because
I would defer the unemployment question just for the simple fact that I think everybody can. I think everybody can claim unemployment at this point in time and get a little extra money. So sure, why not? So I would say let me put it as easy as this: a investigator going into a place that may or may not have a demonic haunting is most likely not going to have any sort of interaction with a demon. You're not going to be attacked by it. It's not like guarding a territory or anything. You have two shits who you are or what you're doing. A demon's purpose is to focus on a person and break them down and break their faith down and just absolutely wear them out until they accept them and allow them to become possessed. You come into the mix, they don't give a crap. You're not a threat. They want that person to now look crazy because now you're going to give up on that person and they're going to get even worse. And it's just going to continue to rail on that one person. Can families be affected? Sure, a family can be affected if that particular location maybe was used as like, some place that people went and did some sort of conjurings or summonings and things like that. A demon's not just going to pop up and be like, I like this place. I'm going to hang out here and torment people around here.
What are the signs of demonic haunting? What are the signs? I've been scratched as an investigator. I've been scratched several times, and it's often been noticed like the day after, like when I'm in the shower and I'll notice like a hairline scratch on my hairline, or like a scratch on my calf. And I don't realize it until the day after, but it's so what I mean, other than scratches, scratches are like in the movies, scratches are known. But I mean, other than that, what are the key signs of a demonic haunting?
So and some of the key signs are if you're being physically impacted, it's not going to just be like a scratch. It's going to be, bleeding. It's going to be look like a cat clawed the hell out of your back. There's going to be a lot of physical pain. It's going to be, the putrid smells, the like death smells and things like that. You're going to have, if things are being manipulated in the house, a human spirit can only move small objects. If large objects are being moved, if couches or things like that are moving, that's not a human spirit. That's going to be probably something more inhuman or demonic. Right. these are things, 3 knocks, mocking of the Trinity. There are other spirits that do that too, to just play games, if you will. But it's really going to be three knocks, mocking the Trinity. You'll hear that a lot in some of these houses. If it's a demonic haunting, usually it's a big boom. It sounds like the whole house is vibrating. It's not going to be like on the door. It's the house is going to resonate. You will know. Trust me. If you're questioning it at all, it's not demonic. If you're terrified and you've got to run.
It will only offend the Trinity if you're a Catholic yourself. If you're not Catholic, it will not replicate the Trinity. Well, is that only if you're religious? Right.
Correct. That's only if you're a Roman Catholic. The big thing is the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost, the Holy Trinity. Mm-hmm. So they mock that with the knocking of 3 knocks or 3 scratches or things like that as a mocking of the Trinity, meaning you hold no weight to me. Here's your Trinity, sort of thing.
And smells of shit and other obnoxious odors that I don't experience every day at work that I would have here at my home would be like signs of demonic spirits.
Well, they could be, but you got to debunk things. You got to make sure you don't have a dead animal. You got to make sure there's not rotten things in the house. You got to make sure your sewer is not backing up. You don't just jump to that. A big thing too. Anybody and this is always a red flag. Anybody who's thinks that there's something going on like this and is experiencing certain things, they've got to get a psych evaluation. They have to be evaluated by a therapist or something. Even if you do have something going on like that, the church is not going to come out until this has been done.
Oh my God! No.
So you have to have all these things in place before you even have anybody come out to perform like an exorcism or something. If you get to that level, but these are things that you have to make sure as an investigator that you. Have you ever read the book The Demonologist?
No.
Read it. I'm getting a bunch. Read that book there. The guy's name is Biddle. Hold on one second. Hang on.
Marc's gonna go get the book now.
While we wait for Marc,
Gerald.
How I'm doing tonight. Oh, he's back. Let's go back to Marc.
So Gerald Brittle is the author of the book, and it's The Demonologist. It's about Ed and Lorraine Warren. It compiles a lot of their stories in here and a lot of the things they've done. But if you go into this and you start reading this book, it explains a lot about what demonology is and what a demonologist does. And in this book, it'll explain to you that as an investigator, as a normal paranormal investigator, you're probably not going to do the things in an investigation that are going to provoke a demon or that type of an entity. I don't want to give that out there because then I don't want a bunch of people running out and doing it. But there are things that you will do as a demonologist that a normal investigator is not going to do. That's when you will provoke a demon. That's when you can bring them forward. But the normal investigator is most likely not going to encounter it and not know whether they're actually in a demonic haunting or not, based off of just normal paranormal investigating. You would have to ramp it up a lot.
So that part, I don't know if it confuses me. It seems like it's a pretty tough thing to figure out. So if it sounds like kind of if Buddy and his crew are someplace and they don't know how to trigger something, and they just leave, it seems like the demon kind of won that round. And so how does it eventually get to you? Because if you know what I mean? Like, is it like 6 months later when things get much worse, the family will contact you?
It could be. So the next step is, these people call Buddy back like, hey, stuff didn't go away. This is crazy. If this is all still happening, do you know anybody else who can help? And eventually it gets to the next level. It comes to me, or it goes to John, or it goes to Jack Kenner or somebody like that. And there's enough resources out there, and I think every team, if you're listening and you're watching, every team out there needs to find a resource. You need to. You're investigating, and you don't have people in your back pocket that if something's wrong, you can just reach out to, then you're not doing everybody the service you should be doing. You need to have these resources at the ready. I was fortunate enough to be able to have these amazing resources and just, make these contacts that I did and become, get to where I am now. And it's not something that I feel it's not easy to do, but if you Google a demonologist, they're going to pop up. And
they're everywhere.
You should reach out to them. Yeah.
Buddy there of OTT Paranormal, I definitely have quite a few demonologists that we reference to, if need be. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So
we've got the Johnson brothers in your backyard.
Yeah. Carl and Keith are our guests and future guests.
Yeah. And that's kind of what's interesting is and I don't know how much you can get into this because like we had Carl on and we also had his partner James Anito was on, and obviously now we have you on, and a lot of the conversation is around kind of what to look for, what basic steps to take to do an assessment and a lot of study. But what I'm kind of curious about is, and if you can't talk about it, you can't talk about it, but are there like techniques and things that you learn, like, about like how to deal with these things? Like, because some people shy away from it completely and others dive in head first, like you. I'm kind of curious what you actually learn and what kind of things you sort of bring to the table during an investigation.
Yeah. Bang! So it's weird. It's weird because it almost sounds, I don't know what that audio only was, but that sounded like a demon by itself. But let's look at. So I'm doing a John right now. I'm like stuttering, trying to dance around it at the same time. So basically, what I would say is, even though it sounds counterintuitive, there's a lot of common sense to this. There's a lot of if you learn a little bit about what you need to know, then there's a lot that you fill in the blanks with yourself, and you just go with your gut on a lot of these things. So when you're going in and, there are studies, there are things to learn, you definitely want to learn a little bit about each religion. You want to learn a little bit about what their beliefs are and what their faith is based on, because that's your power. Your faith is your power. You start to waver on your faith, you're useless. You're out the door. So you need to believe, even if it's the chair that you're sitting in. If the greatest chair in the world and that's what you're in, that's your power. This chair is going to save me. If you question it at all, you're in trouble. And that's
what if you have faith, Mark?
That's
Mark, what if you don't believe in anything? What if you believe that there is nothing out there? What if you're an atheist? What if you believe there is nothing out there?
Yep. So if you're an atheist, now here's the thing, okay? I'm not saying that atheists don't get possessed. I'm not saying that atheists don't have a run into these things.
Go ahead, please tell me.
You broke. What was that?
What do atheists? There are atheists that are listening right now. If an atheist is having a demonic experience, how can you tell an atheist it's demonic? How they don't believe it? They don't believe it's real.
Well, I mean, I'll step in here, buddy, and I'll say.
So if they're having that type of,
hold on, Mark, I got this one. The table flew across the kitchen and smashed through the window.
Right.
It might be a demon. Now, I know you don't want to believe in God and stuff like that, but let's talk about how the table actually left the ground. The rumbling you hear at night and the fact that your wife keeps waking up with crosses carved in her back? Yeah. Well, let's talk about that for a second, because there might be a demon. I'm sorry, Mark. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Mark. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. So here's the main thing, right? A lot of time we come to find out that people who have mental illness do end up being more susceptible to this type of an attack, okay? Forget about religion. The reason for that is they're an easy target. It's a path of least resistance, right? So a demon's not going to run around and look at an atheist who's a tough nut to crack and be like, all right, I'm taking on this challenge. Here we go. No, they're going to be like, nope, I'm moving on. I'm going to find my easy target. So an atheist is a little bit of that tough nut to crack. That's why you don't really hear a lot about atheists having these type of experiences and things like that, because There's no reason. But that doesn't mean that they're not susceptible to something like that happening. If it happens, typically they have a belief in something. There is a belief there for something. And it's my job or someone else's job to find out what that is. I can tell you I've walked with John and gone out on cases with John and been, writing stuff down and doing everything and blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden he'll like, so how long has my wife been practicing? And you'll see the guy's face change and he'll be like, practicing what? And, be like, practicing witchcraft. The guy will be like, oh, about 5 years. You're like, I'm going, how the hell did he know this? How did he pick this up? It's things when I say there's a little common sense or a little bit of your own gut, things that he picks up on over the years that he knows patterns of and he has seen. He'll go, and I've watched him do it, and all of a sudden the guy's like, I can't believe he knew this. Well, that's a secret you're keeping. So there is a belief system in there. Witchcraft and paganism, there's a belief there. Now we start to see where the web comes from and how you got yourself all tangled up in it. So there's always a reason for this to happen. And it's, my job or someone else's job to draw that reason out. And that you got to go with and make your case on. Sometimes people don't want to make it easy. Sometimes they're not going to tell you, and you just got to figure it out yourself. That's why we're investigators. We look for the clues, look for sigils, look for things that might be in the house that might have been used in a summoning or a conjuring. Check the rooms, check this, check. You've got to go through everything in the house and figure it out. It's there.
All right. Part 1. People still do witchcraft, huh? Like, really? They're still doing shit like that? Like, they can't stop doing witchcraft? Do they really still have to do it? Is that still popular? Like, because I know it got really popular in the 90s. One of the movies came out, and then I know Godsmack, made it a little more popular, witchcraft, whatnot. They're still doing that, huh? Like the Ouija board or whatnot. That's still going on. People don't learn, do they?
No.
Oh, yeah. So people watch TV. They like to watch the shows.
Yep.
The Ouija boards have become probably more popular than they have in decades and decades. And I would say there are more people dabbling in witchcraft today. And I say dabbling because there's people that don't know what the hell they're doing. And they're trying to be witches. There are more people dabbling in witchcraft than ever before. So there's definitely there's a huge uptick in dark magic and dark this and dark that. And it keeps me busy. It keeps me on my toes with stuff. So yeah, they're everywhere.
That's not a boom you want, is it? I mean, maybe it is, I guess, for what you do, but that's not a boom anybody wants. We don't want to see that witchcraft went up 200%. Like, that's not something we don't want that, right? But
I'm investing on a Robinhood right now in witchcraft.
Yeah, Rob, that stock is on witchcraft. Excuse me, sir. Just put it on witchcraft. Kev, another one.
I got just one kind of last question. Well, I could ask a million questions, but we're almost at the hour. I heard you talking on another show, another interview, and you said a couple of things that really kind of just caught me. And it was kind of like you had a specific story, which I won't reveal unless you want to reveal it. But it was kind of like looking in your everyday life for potential, I don't know if you want to say attacks or influences or just things like that. And I had never thought of that before, never heard that before. And that kind of really shocked me a little bit. I don't know if you could talk about that a little.
Yeah. Well, thank you for listening in on those. I appreciate that. So, yeah, this is another one and I'll try to be as brief as possible. This is another one of those dabbling along the witchcraft line, right? So there are things, especially becoming a demonologist, but I think it happens to every, somebody who has volunteered themselves into this. This happens every day to normal people who are unsuspecting. Quick story. I'll make it as brief as possible. Went into a shop in Salem, Mass. Was with my girlfriend at the time. I have an affinity for Bibles. I love old Bibles. And one caught my eye in this shop. I went over. I'm looking at it. I went over to the counter and I asked the girl, I said, hey, excuse me, do you mind if I go and can I touch that Bible? Can I pick it up? She's like, oh, yeah, sure. Go right ahead. And she's like, and thank you for asking me. I was like, oh, sure. No problem. So I went over, pick it up. I look over the Bible. I decide, it's not quite what I'm looking for. Too much wear. I put it back. The girl I'm with buys a couple. It's my girlfriend at the time. Buys a couple things. We go up to the counter. We're paying, and she's like, did you didn't want the Bible? I said, no, it's not exactly what I'm looking for. She goes, well, I know this guy. This is guy you want to talk to. I'm like, okay, great. This is awesome. Thank you. So I grabbed that business card from her with the guy's name on it. She puts a couple things into the bags, and then she takes a soap and she goes, I want to give this to you. I made this. It's called Main Squeeze. She drops the soap in the bag, hands it to us. She's been a little flirtatious with me. I'm being very short with this. So I'm like, oh, okay, great. We're leaving. And she says, I said, thank you. She goes, oh, thank you. And she says to my girlfriend, she goes, and thank you for bringing your friend with you today. And then we walked outside. And as we're walking, we're coming up on this trash can. I go, do me a favor. I say, can you please take that bag, whatever is in it, take it out of it, and throw the bag with the soap in that trash can? She's like, why? I'm like, you didn't catch all that. I go, that right there. I'm like, she put a bar of soap that says Main Squeeze into a bag that was meant for me. And he then separated us as we're leaving by saying, thank you for bringing your friend in. I'm like, that's a friggin' love spell. It's a love spell all day long. It's like, to me, it screamed of love spell. And I'm like, I'm not going to touch it. I'm not touching the soap. I'm not touching the bag. Just go ahead and throw it away and get rid of it. And she was like, wow, I didn't even notice that. Yeah.
A love spell.
Absolutely. A love spell.
Kev,
absolutely. I know it sounds ridiculous, but.
And see, the thing that got me is if you extend that out, that means you're going to be paying a lot more attention to your kind of day-to-day interactions on kind of what's going on. And like when you said the part of she separated us, that really hit me, because that's a very astute observation. And if you start looking at the world, your interactions with people, people try to separate who you're with and try to get you alone and try to like influence you in some way, that really kind of opened my eyes. So yeah.
So did she want you for herself, or did she just not want you to be happy with who you were with?
Which is
Mark still there?
Mark.
Gone the way that she wanted it to go, and believe me, I'm not like, I don't look at myself like, hey, I'm some Madonna, some handsome, whatever. If this had gone the way that she wanted it to go, my relationship would have began to break down into tears, fighting, and then eventually I would have found my way back into her store, or we would have found a way to have met up or whatever, and that's how that works, But it sounds kind of far-fetched and out there, but these are the things that all of a sudden you start to pay attention to, and you're like, why would she name the soap Main Squeeze? Why would she decide to put it in the bag for me? And why would she say as we're leaving, thanks for bringing your friend in? Clearly we were together. It was boyfriend and girlfriend. But by separating us that way and making me her friend verbally, all the intent is there. Now that puts the spell in play. That would put it into motion. Had home again using that soap, who knows what would have happened?
You know what? No offense, though. No offense. She almost sounds like speaking like she's special, like Rain Man, because like the way you just phrased what she said, it's a little weird for a girl to talk like that, right? Right? If a girl talks like that,
that's what you've got to,
because how she talks. Like you can't talk normal. What was Shakespeare coming around the corner? Go ahead, Mark.
Right? That's what you've got to pay attention to. There was intent behind her words. So it wasn't a normal conversation. It was an intent behind those words. And that's why I was like, yep, nope, thanks anyway. And it's like I said, I've got my walls up all the time. I catch myself sometimes. I'll be in a room. Like I went to a psychic fair. Right? I know we're probably over and I apologize, but I went to a psychic fair fairly recently up here. And all of a sudden it's like my sixth sense, which you asked about earlier, do I feel like I was born with it or have I developed it? I do feel like I've developed it. I've done nothing to try to nurture it. I've done nothing to learn how to do that. I just think as an investigator, if you allow yourself to open up and pay attention to your body, you are going to begin to feel these things a little bit more. And, I was standing in this psychic fair and I was having a good old time just walking around looking at stuff. And all of a sudden, I just got this feeling that somebody was trying to figure me out. Like they knew I was different than everybody else in the room who was just there to shop. And I immediately, I started rubbing my hands together subconsciously. This is like one of my defense mechanisms where, I sort of close up my bubble. and I'm mentally rubbing my hands together and wringing my hands, and I'm like, and I started looking around. I'm like, I know who it is, but I can't look right at her and be like, what are you doing? So I just sort of kept my bubble locked up and moved along, because if they're picking at you for a reason, then they're a little bit more than what they're letting on, as they're just a psychic. They're a little bit more higher level, so they're probably dabbling in witchcraft, or probably involved in witchcraft and things like that too. So I know it sounds kind of crazy. I know we're trying to cram 5 years of stuff into 1 hour.
No, it makes sense, because here's what I'm wondering. So can devils be like on the down low? Not devils, demons. Like, in other words, can they sneak into things like this and pretend to be like the nicest of nice, but they're actually, that's their way in? Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like, they
Sure.
Is that possible?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely it is. Yeah, they can, if they wanted to, if they had a reason to, sure, absolutely. I've had a few experiences over the years of that, being in, it sounds, so if you ever watch the TV show Supernatural, there's more stuff in Supernatural that is like reality than that they put on and make a funny show out of it. But I'm like, holy crap, that was like dripping of reality and this and that and the other thing. So it's, we don't run around swinging, shotguns with salt in them, and we don't swing iron bar things, but a lot of that has a basis in reality. So it's pretty crazy.
Yeah. All right. Another thing, Mark, you're currently working at what is the location that you work at? That you do the thing on? It's what is it? It's Sunday nights. I forget the name of the location. I hate the Google stuff, but I know that you're currently working on this one location. It's like $80 a person or something like that. A group. Can you help me?
Yeah.
That was the
so
worst pitch.
I can't remember it, and I don't want to look
I've ever heard.
up.
The Houghton Mansion in North Adams. I think that's what you're trying to get.
Oh my god, that place is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
So I used to. I didn't work there, but no, I used to go there all the time. I didn't work at Houghton Mansion. Somebody else thought I worked at Houghton Mansion too recently, and I'm like, I didn't work there. I just went there a lot, and I knew the people there, and it was like, it's my favorite place I've ever been to.
Phenomenal.
Crazy haunted. But it's no longer. You can't investigate it. It's been purchased by a private company, and they won't even talk to anybody about the building. So it's.
What are you doing now? Like, what are you plugging now, Mark? Like, what do you got going on?
So the only thing I got going on right now is I just because COVID's finally loosening its grip a little bit on us here. I booked an event for the S.K. Pierce Victorian Mansion in Gardner, Mass. It'll be Saturday, July 17th.
Yeah.
And very limited, only 15 tickets available, and it's going to be $85 per person. I mean, that's it's what the house wants, so it's what the house can.
What is it to do now? Explain this.
July 7th.
Explain this to a dummy like me.
Our buddy's gonna get it.
July 17th. You're going to this mansion and it's known for. Just give me a quick synopsis of this thing.
Yep. So it's known for lots of stuff that happens there. It was S.K. Pierce was a furniture magnate back in the late 1800s, early 1900s. It's definitely a very active location with all kinds of different. I mean, you get the gamut of full-bodied apparitions, so spirits showing themselves, people getting touched, disembodied voices that you hear with your own ears, a lot of digital recordings. And of course, for me, I'm just going to show you this real quick on my phone because I keep it on my phone. I captured this photo in the men's sitting room there, which I have not been able to get an explanation for. Let me get Buddy's face off my phone. Hold on. I've not been able to get an explanation for. I'll just hold that up, and you can see
the thing on the right
behind the kid that's next to me. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
Don't know what it is.
Nice.
That's crazy.
Buddy has many experiences at the SK Mansion.
Yep.
I've been touched.
Yeah, this is awesome.
So you're running a thing to that mansion is what you're doing. That's crazy, by the way, that footage.
But
yep, doing it at a public event.
From that mansion, it's phenomenal.
That's great, Mark. That truly is crazy. Like that's there. You know what I mean? That's right in the room with you.
Yeah. And no, we didn't feel it. We didn't know it. I grabbed my phone and held it this way and did so the screen's facing me, did a quick selfie with my friend Ben. We didn't see it when I took the picture. It wasn't until the next day that my girlfriend, who didn't go with us, she was like, I go, hey, here's some pictures from last night. She's like, what's that? I go, what's what? She hands it to me and I went, I have no idea. I'm like, what? It blew my mind. I had like chills and it's like, I'm the first person to look at those and be like, that's not real.
That's great.
That house is absolutely phenomenal. I had an experience in the room after the red room in the nanny's room.
Yep.
And we were just sitting there doing an EVP session, and I'm like, you can hear it, and it's me. It's like I can hear 4 musical notes in the background, and then people are like, oh, they're like, oh, you can hear it, and then you can hear it in the audio. And it's just 4 notes coming through. It's like, it sounds like a music box. It's absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah. The piano gets played a lot. They have like 2 or 3 pianos in the place, and piano keys get played a lot. When you're just on the 2nd and 3rd floor, downstairs.
Right.
So I was in there broad daylight in the nanny's room in broad daylight, and it was me, my girlfriend, and Marion, who's the caretaker of the house, and above us. We heard a couch drag across the floor, and it was not mistaking. It wasn't like a little like scratch. It was, seconds of the sound. And we looked at each other, and I flew upstairs and I started moving stuff, trying to duplicate it. And it was the couch, and you could see the dust where the couch had slid along the floor. And it was just, it was crazy. This place is very active. I don't feel like there's anything negative in there, but it's a pretty fun spot.
That's the last question. Wait, the next question is: so you had this thing on Saturday, July 17th.
Yep.
I don't know how many you said spaces left. 12, right? Something like that.
Let's see. I've got 4, 5, 6. So there's probably about 7 spaces left. Yeah.
All right.
We're only doing 15 tickets total. So
my question is this: how can we guarantee that it doesn't come home with us? Because that's what I'm most terrified about. And you're telling me, hey, come over to this place where you're going to see all this crazy stuff. But don't worry, it's happened to me before, but it won't happen to you because,
So I can't. I can't guarantee that's going to happen. That's why the waiver says, you understand that you're taking your own responsibility coming here. And, there's the only thing you can do is offer advice. I can't assume everybody's the same religion, so I can't offer up prayers. I do tell people before they leave. What was that?
They think it's a joke sometimes, I bet you, when you give them that contract, that paper to sign. Oh, demons following me home.
Absolutely.
That's all I hear about is demons following people home like you, and then they get sick. What about a guy like me? I'm easy to pray. I don't want none of this. I'm sorry.
Then don't come. No, but you know what? At the end, though, I always tell people, listen, whatever you believe in, do whatever you think right now to protect yourself. Make it known that things aren't allowed to follow you. They have to stay here. I don't know why that works. Again, it might be a faith thing and a belief thing where to me, everything's energy. The energy that can come and affect you, if you can push back against that with your faith and your own conviction, you push back on that energy, then you're going to set up a boundary for yourself and protect yourself. If you don't have that faith, energy is just not, it's sort of like weak and wavering, you're going to get bombarded. So you've got to be strict with what you do. And for one moment, believe that something might come home with you and you don't want it.
Mark, I got an odd question for you, but it sounds like it connects. Did you study a lot of Tesla and vibrations and how his belief that how vibrations pretty much like how he put it on tape? It's like everything.
Sounds everything's a vibration. Like this cup is a vibration. This cup, the molecules just came together and are vibrating at the right frequency that I can hold this cup. But can I really hold this cup? That's like Tesla's very he screwed it up a lot because it makes sense, but then you're like, they can't be possible because how could I hold it then? If it's I do like Tesla. I did read a lot of that stuff. So yeah, I'm fascinated with some of the forefathers of this sort of thing because Tesla was super into the paranormal too.
Oh my God!
there was a guy in Massachusetts, my home state, my hometown actually, Gloucester. There was a guy named John Hayes Hammond. He has a castle in Gloucester, Hammond Castle. He built the thing for his wife as a wedding present. They lived there. He was an inventor. He holds the second most patents behind Thomas Edison. Nobody knows his name. Nobody knows his name. So he was a huge inventor. He invented the RV. He invented the radio control. So, like, the remote controls we have for RC cars now, he invented the radio control. It's like all these things, like a lot of stereophonic stuff he created. He did a lot of stuff for the military with guidance systems, but he was into the paranormal. And he did experiments with a Faraday cage, like a large one, and psychics, going in, sitting down, looking at cards, projecting out their energy, seeing if the person could write down a shape on the card, and then they turn the Faraday cage on, and they do the same experiment, see if the person would receive the psychic wave. He did all this stuff, and he was into, life after death and paranormal, and nobody knows this guy, and it's like, I wish more people knew who he was and would go to his castle. So there's a lot of these scientists that are into the paranormal.
I knew you were connected to Tesla. It's weird that popped in my head, but like I knew you were, because again, he believes in vibrations, and I listened to one thing he said that blew my mind, but then I brought my mind back. It was about like vibrations, how you get it on a tape, how like it's in the air. It's like different, like it was awesome. Like it was something like that no one else would think of, but he did.
So it's not like the tape is recording the voice as much as the voice is imprinting on the tape, on the magnet, on the whatever it is. So the voice is an impression or an imprint, not an actual recording of something. And those experiments were done too, where you put a recorder into like a vacuum sealed container and see if it'll capture an EVP, because no sound exists in a vacuum. So if you put a recorder in a vacuum sealed container and you can capture an EVP, well, now what do you do? Because that doesn't exist in a vacuum. So, all these things are just amazing, and I'd love to push the limits. Like one day I want to be hypnotized, and I want to be hypnotized to be open to the spirits, to see them, and then sent into a haunted building. That's what I want. I want to go in under a hypnosis. That's the suggestion that I can see all of that and see what the hell happens. So
that's as silly as me wanting to fight a Bigfoot, which is what I guess it makes sense. Not really, but to you, as long as that is, it is. But, we're actually going to be going down to that. It's actually a Bigfoot, third annual Bigfoot conference in Virginia. Kev, Buddy, and myself will be going down to help MC some of the events. If you actually mention the show, I think you get in free. That's what Dan left me a message saying. So if you mention the show and you go there, it would be great if we had a bunch of people show up, Kev. And we had like a reunion, like a legit paranormal reunion. Because I wonder if you guys like all each other. I wonder if there's like petty fights, or if you guys like each other in the community. You know what I mean?
Oh, there's petty fights everywhere. There's petty fights everywhere. Listen, even if people think they like each other, there's still petty fights.
Is it about whether they think the other person is doing it for the right reasons? Is that the main argument that you guys have?
So, honestly, the main argument that everybody has is sometimes it's territory. It's like, no, this is our location. This is our spot. You can't be here. But most of the time, it's my evidence is better than your evidence, and my team is better than your team. And it's like, who cares? Who cares? We're not running around saying, hey, sorry, the spirits didn't give me the best evidence tonight. It's unfortunately. So I was involved in this project that we tried to do a few years back. It was called Moving Forward. And it was myself and the guys over at Paranormal Warehouse and my girlfriend at the time and a couple other of the paranormal, figureheads, if you will. And we were really trying to push a paranormal database where everybody could go upload their evidence from locations and things. And you could go as a layman and go and search like Penhurst. You could type in Penhurst EVPs, and all the EVPs captured at Penhurst would pop up.
That'd be awesome.
And then you could go and start listening to some of those so that you could compare what you captured versus what they captured and see. Now all of a sudden, if you have 57 EVPs of the same name coming through. Well, maybe we need to start talking to that person. Maybe we need to pay more attention as a collective to this list of evidence that seems to overlap each other all the time. That would be an awesome spot. Videos. And the way we set it up was you could link it back to your own YouTube channel. We didn't care. Promote yourself. Link this, link that, whatever. Nobody has claim on your stuff. And it didn't take off. People just didn't want to participate. A lot of people just didn't want to put the work in because you actually had to build a case file and then send then do some work and upload everything. Oh, well, you're an investigator. You want to be legit in this field? This is what you do. And people didn't want to do it. And it was frustrating.
Yeah, they just wanted to send the tapes, right? Because it's the millennials, and they want to just do things like this. They don't want to wait. They just want to send you the video. They think that's good enough. Mark, it's your fault that you're not adapting to the times, man. They're just going to send you the file, put it up, and they don't have time to fill out.
It is. You're right.
Jeff, you got anything else you want to add?
No, that's like a great idea. That's a phenomenal idea. And when you say it out loud, and then I think, wow, nothing like that exists. It's kind of crazy that nothing like that exists. We should
help Mark and become the legit paranormal database.
Yeah.
There you go.
We'll put it on as one of our shows, and we'll promote it, Mark. And you make the website again. You get it rolling, and if we keep saying it to people, we might kind of force them to go and join. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. We'll be like, well, you're not really legit if you're not a part of the database because you're hiding something. You're not quite, Maybe we can get people like this. Kev, what do you think?
There you go.
I like that idea because whenever we run a query right before the show starts, if nothing comes up, it's like, how could you possibly be legit? Nothing came up.
Guy, you got to put in the work. Got to put in the work to be legit on the legit paranormal database.
Oh boy,
buddy, anything you want to
add? Yeah. Next week we have Mark Warner. He's a paranormal investigator from out in the Pennsylvania, New Jersey
Matt
region.
Warner.
Matt Warner.
Oh, Mark Warner. My bad.
Matt Warner.
Whatever.
Matt Warner. He's a good shit. And stay tuned for Salem Con 6 to be coming soon to a Salem near you if the pandemic ever subside and shit and go away, and we're gonna have Salem Con again. It'll be a good time. There'll be a lot of good guest speakers and Salem Con type stuff in Salem, in one of the most haunted cities in America.
What city is it in? I don't understand. Where is it?
For Salem Con 6.
Oh, Salem. So it's
Salem Con 6 with Marc Arvilla. This guy right there.
But buddy,
is that
buddy?
Salem,
where is it? What's
Salem, North Carolina?
Salem, Massachusetts.
Oh,
all right. Massachusetts. Mark, is that happening again this year?
So it'll happen. We had to postpone it this past April 2022. I don't have a date yet, only because the Hawthorne. Yeah, the Hawthorne is booking out 6 months in advance, so I can't book the dates until September-ish, but it'll happen in March or April of 2022.
All right, cool.
Buddy.
Weird time we live in. Weird time.
Oh, yeah, it is.
We'll get there, Mark.
All right. Anybody get anything else they want to add? Floor's open? No?
That's it, buddy.
Well, Mark, it was a good time. I really enjoyed having you on the show.
Awesome, Mark.
We're definitely gonna have you on again. You know what I mean? It's fun, and I love the database idea, and I'm not even joking. I gravitate towards good ideas. Like when I hear them, I go, "Oh, that is a legit good idea." All right. And on Saturday, July 17th, if it's this, you've got that thing going on. There's only 8 spots left. It's something worth going to. I keep forgetting things, Kev, but I'm gonna wrap this up for Buddy there. For Mark, it's Arvilla, right?
Arvilla.
It is. Thank you.
Arvilla.
For Buddy there, Marc Arvilla, the genius Kev, to me, Mike Lepre. This was Legit Paranormal from www.legitfantasysports.com. We will be live tomorrow, 7 to 8. We have Legit Fantasy Baseball, and then 8 to 9 we have Legit Fantasy Basketball, hosted by the genius Kev. We will see you guys tomorrow.